Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if we are alone in the universe? Throughout history, there have been instances where individuals claim to have encountered aliens or unidentified flying objects. From the curious aerial battle witnessed by the folks of Nuremberg in 1561, to the strange celestial phenomena seen by the residents of Basel in 1566. Or were those just a natural solar phenomenon known as a sundog? And what about the Morocco swarm sighting in 1952, where people reported seeing bizarre lights and orbs in the sky? Could it have just been large, luminous disks with leaping and bounding motions, or was it something more? Some even argue that the biblical account of Ezekiel's visions, involving beings with 4 faces and a wheel within a wheel, could have been extraterrestrial encounters. And who can forget the unsettling omen of Halley's Comet during the Norman invasion of England in 1066? The tales continue with stories from Alexander the Great's encounters with alleged aliens during his conquests, the Great Airship Wave across the United States in the late 1800s, the Gangwon sighting in Korea, and the first images of a UFO captured by Mexican astronomer Jose Bonilla. But wait, there's one final sighting that might just be the most intriguing of them all. And that sighting is Brace. Well, you'll find out soon enough. What's up, my amazing and curious folks? Ready to unravel mysteries together? I'm Caesar, your guide through this journey of curiosity and knowledge. To make it even more exciting, I've got Sonia here with me, adding her unique insights to our discussions.
Hey everyone, it's Sonia Guimaraes here, super thrilled to be part of this adventure with you all.
And we're on the Curiosity Wonderland. As we dive into today's topic, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to stay updated. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. So folks, we've been imagining the possibility of alien life for centuries, not just in recent times. This fascination goes back to historical periods like in 1561 in the city of Nuremberg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire. The citizens witnessed a strange aerial battle, describing hundreds of spheres flying rapidly and erratically in the sky.
Wow, that's intriguing. Can you imagine looking up and seeing something like that? It must have been quite a sight.
Absolutely. It must have been baffling. There was even a large black triangular object that seemed to be the most notable of all. This event has sparked debates among ufologists who argue that this might have been an entire city witnessing an alien battle.
An alien battle? Now that's a thought. But I imagine there are skeptics who have other explanations for these sightings, right?
For sure, there are always multiple perspectives on such phenomena. Some argue that it could have been a natural occurrence or a case of misinterpretation. But the number of witnesses and the detailed descriptions surely make you wonder.
Definitely, it adds an element of mystery and intrigue to our history. It's fascinating to think about how these sightings have shaped our perceptions and beliefs about extraterrestrial life over the centuries.
Yes, it's a testament to our enduring curiosity about the universe and the potential for life beyond Earth. This fascination isn't limited to modern times. It's a part of our collective human story. Whether these sightings were really encounters with alien life or something else entirely, they've definitely left a lasting impression on our imagination. The incident in Nuremberg isn't the only one of its kind. Another similar event happened in Basel, Switzerland, 5 years later in the year 1566. Residents reported seeing unique celestial phenomena on 3 consecutive mornings.
That's incredible. What did they see exactly?
Well, on the first morning, they witnessed an unusual sunrise followed by a total eclipse of the moon, which is unique, but not necessarily indicative of extraterrestrial activity. However, on the second morning, the sun rose red, something quite rare for a landlocked area.
Wait, is that when the saying, "Red sky at night, sailor's delight, red sky at morning, sailor take warning" comes from?
Yes, that's a possibility. But the real kicker was the third morning. Locals saw a cloud of bizarre red and black spheres or orbs blocking parts of the rising sun. Ufologists assert that this, just like the Nuremberg incident, may have been an alien sky battle.
I can imagine people were pretty scared. How did they interpret these events?
Interestingly, at the time, people saw these events as religious happenings with various faith-based implications. The concept of extraterrestrial beings flying around would have been completely unknown to them.
So they interpreted it through the lens of their understanding at the time. Amazing how our perspective and interpretation of events can change with the knowledge we have.
Exactly. It just shows how our understanding of the universe evolves over time. Who knows what future generations might decipher from our UFO sightings today? Now let's jump ahead from the 16th century to the 20th, specifically to the summer of 1952. In Morocco, residents of Marrakesh and Moulay Bousselham reported sightings of strange lights and orbs in the sky. On July 16th, a large luminous disk was spotted flying across the sky of Marrakesh, followed by a second disk.
Wait a minute. So these weren't just isolated incidents in Europe, but sightings were happening in different parts of the world too?
Exactly, these strange phenomenons weren't localized to one region. A couple of weeks later, in August, a flashing object was reported over the town of Moulay Bousselham. The object was described as red at its center with a blue edge around it.
This is getting more and more fascinating. Did these sightings continue?
They surely did. In fact, similar sightings were reported in Algeria and even in southern Spain. The sightings persisted until the end of September, when a pilot reported witnessing flying saucers around his airplane over Casablanca and Tangier.
And all these sightings were well documented?
They were indeed. In fact, the CIA documented all the sightings, but they have never been publicly explained. It's a mystery that continues to intrigue us to this day. Going back in time, we find another intriguing account in the book of Ezekiel. The prophet describes an encounter with beings with 4 faces and visions of a wheel within a wheel.
Are you suggesting that UFO sightings are mentioned in the Bible?
Some ufologists do interpret it that way. They suggest that Ezekiel saw aliens and his descriptions were of an extraterrestrial encounter.
And what about the religious interpretations?
Those of faith believe that Ezekiel was seeing God. The beings with 4 faces and the vision of a wheel within a wheel are seen as divine symbols.
Fascinating to see how different perspectives can interpret the same event. What else did Ezekiel see?
He described the beings as having the likeness of men but with 4 faces, a lion, an ox, an eagle, and a man. Their feet were like calves and each had 4 wings. Ezekiel also mentioned that beneath each creature were 4 wheels, each described as a wheel within a wheel and full of eyes.
That sounds more like a sci-fi movie than a religious text. What's the interpretation of these beings?
It's a matter of ongoing debate. Some see them as angels, while others argue they could be aliens. The truth, as with many of these sightings, is elusive.
It seems the deeper we dig into these stories, the more questions we have.
Absolutely, and that's precisely what makes the study of UFO sightings so intriguing. It opens up endless possibilities and challenges our understanding of the universe. Fast forward to 1066 and we find another intriguing celestial event over England. This time it was Halley's Comet, visible across the country.
Oh, I've heard of that. Isn't it the one that comes around every 76 years or so?
That's correct. This event was especially significant because it was aligned with the Norman invasion and the Battle of Hastings. People of that time, lacking our modern understanding of comets, saw it as a portent of doom.
That must have been terrifying. How did they interpret it?
Well, a chronicler of the time, William of Malmesbury, wrote about a monk named Ethelmer who saw the comet as a harbinger of change and destruction. He described it as a source of tears to many mothers and a sign that their world was ending.
So they saw this celestial event as an omen of the tumultuous times they were going through.
Exactly. And the 1066 sighting of Halley's Comet was illustrated in the Bayeux Tapestry, making it the first ever known illustration of the comet.
That's fascinating. A comet sighting turned into a historical artifact.
Yes, indeed. These events remind us that humanity's fascination and fear of the unknown, especially the sky, is a constant throughout history. As we delve deeper into the annals of history, the trail of these unidentified flying objects takes us to 329 BC, during the time of Alexander the Great.
Wait, are you telling me that even Alexander the Great saw UFOs?
Quite possibly. It's been recorded that while preparing to attack Indian soldiers across the Indus River, Alexander's army reported seeing two great shining silvery shields spitting fire around the rims.
That surely sounds like a description of flying saucers.
It certainly does. The accounts suggest these objects dive-bombed Alexander's army, causing widespread panic. Then, just as quickly as they showed up, they disappeared into the sky.
So, are there other instances where Alexander the Great reportedly encountered UFOs?
Yes, another incident reportedly occurred 7 years later where two unknown objects were seen flying into the sky. One of these objects supposedly shot a beam of light that crumbled a city wall to dust, allowing Alexander's men to take the city.
That's quite a tale. But how much of it can we actually believe?
Good question. These stories are often regarded with skepticism by historians and are likely embellished over time. But it's fascinating to ponder about the possibilities, isn't it? And with that, we move on to our next episode in this intriguing journey through the history of UFO sightings. We're entering the late 19th century era of the Great Airship Wave. But let's pause for a moment here. To our listeners out there, aren't these accounts astonishing? Are you as intrigued as we are? We're exploring uncharted territories, deciphering coded messages from the past. Do you think Alexander really interacted with aliens? Share your thoughts with us. And if you're enjoying our journey, don't forget to hit the like button. Stay tuned for more. As we turn the pages of history to the late 19th century, we find ourselves in the midst of the Great Airship Wave.
Oh, that's an intriguing episode in the Chronicles of UFO sightings. I believe it started in Northern California in 1896, right?
Yes, indeed. Newspaper reports were filled with accounts of slow-moving flying objects in the sky. The sightings were not confined to California alone. They extended up the Pacific coast to Oregon, Washington, and even British Columbia.
And then it spread to the Midwest and the East Coast in 1897, didn't it?
Correct. Witnesses reported large, slow-moving, dirigible-like flying objects in the sky. Some even claimed to see creatures resembling humans inside the objects, apparently piloting them.
That's quite an image. Thousands of reports were logged and newspapers covered the phenomena heavily. But there was never a definitive explanation for these sightings, was there?
You're right. While some attribute the sightings to natural phenomena or early military aerial explorations, others firmly believe they were encounters with alien spacecraft. The mystery remains unsolved.
I suppose that's part of what makes these accounts so captivating. The possibility of the unknown, the unanswered questions, it ignites our curiosity, doesn't it?
Certainly. It's this endless quest for answers that keeps us delving deeper into our past, unveiling tales of intrigue and wonder. And speaking of which, our next stop on this journey takes us to the Gangwon province of Korea in the year 1609. Now let's travel back to the quiet skies of Gangwon province in Korea. On the 22nd of September, 1609, 3 regions of the province experienced a flurry of UFO sightings.
Right, they saw something like a halo or a wash basin floating in the sky, didn't they?
Yes, that's correct. These sightings were not just reported by ordinary townsfolk. A high-ranking government official, Moon-wee Kim, also claimed to have seen a UFO.
A government official. Now that's intriguing.
It certainly is. The sightings were taken seriously enough to be documented in the official historical record of Korea.
And considering this was a few hundred years before the advent of modern communication methods, it's less likely that these were copycat sightings.
Indeed. It's a fascinating piece of historical evidence. Now let's shift our gaze to a little later in history, to the year 1883. On the 12th of August, a Mexican astronomer named Jose Bonilla made a surprising observation.
Ah, the Bonilla observation. He saw several objects crossing the face of the sun, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Over the course of 48 hours, Bonilla captured nearly 500 photographs of these objects. These are considered to be the first images of a UFO in human history.
That's amazing. But what were those objects?
Bonilla himself thought they might be a group of high-flying geese. Modern-day astronomers, however, believe they might have been a disintegrating comet, possibly a massive one that nearly hit Earth.
So we might owe our existence today to a lucky miss.
It's a chilling thought, isn't it? But the mysteries of the sky don't end there. Just a few years later, in 1897, a journalist named S.E. Hayden reported a supposed UFO crash in the small city of Aurora, Texas. Stay with us as we dig deeper into this incident in our next segment. So this intriguing incident in Aurora, Texas in 1897, as reported by journalist S.E. Hayden, involved an alleged UFO crash. Now, this wasn't any ordinary crash. The spacecraft supposedly struck a windmill on the property of a local man named J.S. Proctor.
And not just that, the pilot of this craft was said to be an extraterrestrial being, a so-called Martian, right?
Yes, indeed. This information came from T.J. Weems, a supposed Army Signal Service officer stationed at Fort Worth, who was quoted by Hayden. But the tale takes an even weirder turn.
Oh yeah, the citizens of Aurora supposedly buried this alien and scrapped its craft.
That's where the story really takes off. The townspeople allegedly gave this alien a Christian burial at the Aurora Cemetery. As for the remnants of the supposed spacecraft, they were dumped into a well under the damaged windmill.
And the plot thickens when another local man, Brawley Oates, buys Proctor's property, digs up the well, and then supposedly develops severe arthritis.
Yes, a strange twist that led some to believe that the supposed alien craft's remnants were somehow linked to his condition. But as we delve deeper into this story, we find that all may not be as it seems.
Are we talking about the reveal that Hayden might have made up the story to bring attention to the dwindling town of Aurora?
Exactly. According to a local woman, the journalist concocted this elaborate tale to rejuvenate interest in his dying town. While it didn't quite boost the town's population, it certainly drew the attention of UFO enthusiasts.
That's an unexpected turn of events, but it shows the lengths to which people will go to preserve their communities.
Absolutely. This tale serves as a fascinating example of the intersection between local lore and the universal human fascination with the unknown. It's these stories that keep us wondering and questioning, always in search of the truth, no matter how far out it may seem. Well, we've taken quite a journey today, from the skies of Nuremberg in 1561 to the small town of Aurora, Texas in 1897. Along the way, we've encountered sky battles, glowing orbs, and even an alleged extraterrestrial buried with Christian rites.
It has indeed been a wild ride, and while some of these stories have been debunked or explained away, others remain shrouded in mystery. Was Ezekiel visited by otherworldly beings? What were the objects Jose Bonilla saw crossing the sun? We may never know for sure.
And that's what makes these tales so compelling. Whether you're a die-hard ufologist or a staunch skeptic, there's no denying the allure of the unexplained. But remember, the truth is out there, and it's up to us to find it.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode of Curiosity Wonderland. Thanks for joining us on this adventure through time and space. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to blast the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with your fellow mystery enthusiasts.
And remember, keep looking up. You never know what you might see. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, keep asking questions, and stay curious.
Today's captivating journey through history and space is courtesy of an article titled 10 Times Historic People, Maybe, Saw Aliens on Listverse, penned by Selmy Angulo and published on March 24, 2024. The full URL is in the video description for those curious minds who want to delve deeper into this cosmic mystery. Until next time, folks.